Hi, Jeff Munn, creating extraordinary futures. And this week I want to give a shout out to a fellow coach named Allison Crow. She has always inspired me with her willingness to be 100% vulnerable, 100% authentic, true to herself, in service to the people that she helps. And today is September 27th, and she posted something on her Facebook feed about a health condition that she's dealing with the hopes of, I think, illustrating some consistent human qualities around dealing with a health condition, and also with the hope that it would potentially help some of the women in her audience. And right as I was looking at the post, I was dealing with my own struggle of whether to post something about something that I just went through that might, if I posted it, if I shared it, it might be helpful to some men in my audience. And Allison inspired me to create this video to share a little bit about what I've been going through. And I hope it's helpful to you. And on the 17th of September, I was traveling from my mom to visit my mom. So I was flying from Denver. I flew into Des Moines, Iowa. I was driving to a friend of mine who lives between Des Moines and Bettendorf, Iowa, where my mom lives. And I had stopped at his place and had dinner with him and his wife. It was lovely. And I woke up at 2 a.m. and I was in a lot of pain, but I waited until about 7 a.m. and woke up my friend, and he drove me to the emergency room. And we got it taken care of. I ended up having to wear a catheter for about a week. I got that catheter out yesterday. And there's just a lot of discomfort and frustration and why me, and kind of self-pity, and this feeling of being old before my time, of being, somewhat immobilized. I was on my way to my mom, so I had to show up at my mom's wearing a catheter. My mom's 87. She uses a walker. I had my catheter. It was quite a sight. And I realized, thinking about all this, so I feel like I'm, at least for the time being, on the other end of this experience. I got the catheter out yesterday. I talked to my urologist. It doesn't seem to be that my prostate has gotten any worse, which is great news. They're not really doing anything from that perspective. I have a little bit of a quirk in my bladder that I need to pay attention to, and there's some things I can do to help with that. So in terms of what the news could have been, the range, it was definitely on the good end of the spectrum. And I was reflecting a lot on where my mind had gone in this week of having a catheter in, and that I was going to have additional surgery, that might have sexual side effects, all this stuff. You get concerned about giving up your quality of life or what you might lose in the process. And I realized that there are a couple different ways to look at anything that happens in our life. One is that life is happening to me, that this happened to me. And I think that's the way most of us think most of the time. And when we think life is happening to us, we are not in control. We are not in control of what's happening. We are victims. We are powerless. We give up a lot. We tend to fall into woe is me. We tend to blame other people. Why didn't my doctor tell me this was a possibility? Whatever. And then there's this other perspective. And this other perspective, which I only recently came across in the last few years, is that life is happening for me. Now, I don't know which one of those is true. I don't know that objectively you could prove one or the other. But what I do know is, whichever direction I am looking from is what shows up for me. So if I am looking from life is happening to me and I am a victim, I can find all kinds of shit to be mad at. But if I am looking at it from life is happening for me, that this was in some way a gift, I begin to see this situation differently. I begin to see, for example, that of all the times for this to happen, this could not have happened at a better time. First of all, it happened on a Sunday morning in a small town in Iowa. I was literally the only patient in the ER. I got white glove service. I was on my way to my mom's. So I had already blocked off most of my calendar for a week so that I could spend time with my mom. So I did not have competing things calling for my attention. I didn't have to juggle stuff and move stuff around. That place, that space was already open for me. My mom is 87 years old. She already moves slowly anyway. So when I showed up at her place wearing a catheter. She's got her walker, I've got my catheter. We were joking about, we were quite the sight together, right? And every time something like this happens, and it's happened a few times now, it pokes me and reminds me how hard it is for me to ask for help, for me to rely on other people. And it also reminds me how much I can. My friend in Iowa was amazing. His wife, amazing, just incredibly caring people. The ER in Iowa, incredibly caring, heartfelt. My mom, I hesitated to even tell my mom because I didn't want her to worry. And there's some history there about us hiding things from each other, like not wanting to worry the other person. I just decided, I'm just going to come clean. I'm going to trust that she can handle it. And she did. I was really proud of her. I learned something important about her. She can be there too. And I haven't always felt that way about my mom. My wife, my son, when I got home, so first of all, they're kind of holding down things when I'm gone. But then when I got back, just everything they were willing to kind of pick up and help with and hold, because I wasn't really in a place to hold it. And I'm just grateful every time that I'm able to see that, every time that I have that reminder of how many people are willing to love and support me. And it's really touching and really moving. And I think as men, we often think that's weak. That's weakness. We shouldn't ever ask anyone for anything. And yet we give and we give and we give, sometimes in ways that aren't even valued, right? We'll give what we think the other person wants, and they want something more fundamental, like our time, our attention. They don't want us off on our own adventures creating piles of money. But that's a whole separate thing. And I've done posts on that. For now, I will say, look at the difficult areas in your life. Did they happen to you or did they happen for you? What shows up for you if you look through the lens of that happening for you, if you look through the lens of that being a gift, if you look through the lens of that being the perfect thing to happen at the perfect moment, how does it show up for you then? Have any thoughts on that? If you want to reach out and have a conversation about that, I am here for you. Take care, and I'll see you next week.